So you want to know about the Pythagoras Theorem? Watch this video and I'll explain. So Pythagoras is basically a guy who found a formula that related all the sides of a right angled triangle. He found that the square of the longer side equals the square of the other two sides. What do I mean? If I've got a right angled triangle, this long side squared equals the other two sides squared. Simple. So how do we use this formula? Basically, if you have a right angled triangle and you know two sides, but you want to know the last one, then you just use Pythagoras. For example, we have this triangle here where one side is 4 centimeters and the other side is 3 centimeters, but we want to know that longer side. Then if I use Pythagoras, I can write that a squared equals b squared plus c squared. So in this case, 5 squared equals 4 squared plus 3 squared. So a squared equals 16 plus 9. So a squared equals 25. So a equals the square root of 25. A equals 5. Let's do one more example where we don't know one of the shorter sides. So we've got this triangle here where the longer side is 10 and the shorter side is 8, and the third side we don't know, we want to find out. So again, I use Pythagoras. I write that a squared equals b squared plus c squared. So I put 10 squared equals 8 squared plus c squared, which I don't know. The most important thing here is that you put the longest side only on one side of your formula, so that the longest side equals the two other sides added together like we have here. So in this case, 100 equals 64 plus c squared. So 100 minus 64 equals c squared. I've just taken the 64 over. So 36 equals c squared, and now we write the square root of 36 equals c, so c equals 6. Again, I've picked numbers that work out really nice, but you can have answers which are decimal places which you need to round up. In the exam, what kind of questions can you expect? Well, you'll probably get worded questions like this. A sail on a sailing ship is a right-angled triangle. If the sail is 5.6 meters wide at its base, and has a hypotenuse of 11.6 meters, how tall is it? The most important thing you need to pick up here is the word right angled triangle. So once you see that word, you need to think, okay, this could be a Pythagoras theorem problem. Draw a right angled triangle. I'm reading the question. It says its width is 5.6. So this base here, I'll write 5.6. And it says the hypotenuse is 11.6. The hypotenuse is always the longer side opposite the 90 degrees. So I can write 11.6 there. So the question asks, how tall is it? So it must mean that I'm working out this side here, marked with an X. So if I plug this into my formula that a squared equals b squared plus c squared, I'll get that 11.6 squared equals 5.6 squared plus x squared. So if I work out 11.6 squared, I'll get 134.56 equals 31.36 plus x squared. So then that must mean if I take over this figure, I'll get that 103.2 equals x squared. And I work out the square root of that, I'll get that x equals 10.2 to the nearest one decimal place. This makes sense because it's taller than the base, but it's smaller than the hypotenuse, which it should always be smaller than the hypotenuse. There you have it. What is Pythagoras and what to expect in the exam? Watch my next video where I'll explain how to use Pythagoras in 3 dimensions. How can we use this formula? Well, so how can we use this formula?